All right, welcome back. Oh, everybody. I am Crypto Kip, and we are back with a live stream. It is Monday, and I just did a little bit of a run before this live stream. So I'm very like taking advantage of the beautiful summer weather and just getting outside a little bit, right? Stepping away from the crypto charts, because if you've been peeking at the crypto charts, they may be troubling. Yes, let's take a peek, because here you have Bitcoin at 116, Ethereum rejecting some of these key levels of resistance that we've been peeking at, now at $4,300. I'm tired from that run. I thought I was going to want to stand, but I'm going to sit during this stream. Gonna sit during this one. So a lot of our coins are sitting at some interesting levels. XRP is sitting at $3 right now. Ethereum at $4,300. Let's jump right into the Ethereum chart and let's say hello to the chat. How's it going, John, Pepe, Shy Sox fan for life, BSS, Jay Samuels, Marvel in the chat, Mr. Greer. Who else we got? Scott and Pepe, and a little bit of a debate going on. What is the debate going on in the chat right now? Okay, here. Michael says, you're not joking, and you're more president's pushes, the more Powell will pull back and threaten. Oh, you're talking about the battle between the president and the Fed. Well, that's something we're going to discuss, because that's definitely one of the key topics today. Breaking crypto news alert. We've got a few of them. Ethereum rejected and altcoins versus Bitcoin have a lot to do with tariffs, inflation, and the Fed, of course. So let's talk a little bit about it. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you guys are doing great today. Let me get my camera adjusted nicely here for you. Okay, that's all we can do. That's all we can do. Good. That's fine. No crypto report side above me. Okay. So smash a like, subscribe to the channel. Let's talk about some of these things. So later today, I got a crow video coming out. So be ready for that. I'm going to talk about these little rainbows of red that I've got drawn here, which is a key rejection level. And I had a feeling we'd see rejection there, because if you're peeking at Ethereum right now, we had a nice wick. We got close to a previous all-time high. But now, not only are we not seeing that all-time high happen, but we are also seeing, what do I have? Nope, not that. Not that either. Nope, not that one. I knew I'd find it. This happened. So Ethereum faces not only a rejection and doesn't break a new all-time high, but right then, there, and following, look at this, guys. We have a record number, a record high amount of shorts positions happening in the crypto market. How about that? Well, how about that? Isn't that interesting? I think it's very interesting. This is going to be a very psychological level for Ethereum, this previous high. And in fact, traders are now betting big dollars. In fact, the most they've ever bet that Ethereum should reject that high. And we just saw that happen. Now, this is something that I was discussing lately, and I think there was some controversy over it. I think there was a little bit of controversy. I think a lot of people have just been calling all-time highs, just calling for highs no matter what. And as I want to be a crypto bull, I want to call for new highs, but I also understand that, sorry guys, I'm having an issue with my screen share. I also understand that these things can happen, right? You can trade the volatility of these markets. I do. I trade on Blowfin a lot. I've got a sign up Link for you guys down below. And there are sign up bonuses for Blowfin, BitTinex in the description down below. And clearly there's always coins moving. Most coins are not up today. There's one random coin up today, but most coins are down 11 or 7% because of the Ethereum rejection. But there's a bigger reason that Ethereum rejected outside of the fact that, a new all-time high is always a big psychological level, just as Bitcoin, by the way, is struggling with this trend line right here. Okay. Outside of just the pure technical side, there is news happening that is holding us back, and it's macro concerns, okay? We are getting a little bit concerned. The biggest thing going on is we are worried about the federal rate cut in September. Is it going to happen or is it not? Now, the jobs data put us in a position where we should be seeing it, but the PPI data says maybe not, because inflation's not getting any better. The truth of the matter is that the rate cut odds are still very much in favor of a cut. It's an 80-something% chance right now at the time of this recording. I just checked. But we also had the Treasury Secretary clarifying that the strategic Bitcoin reserve that the president put in place back in March will, not really be buying Bitcoin. Okay. This was actually a little while ago. This is something that we were anticipating the U.S. government to buy it, but Scott Bessent has been saying, we're probably not going to buy it. They're looking at a budget neutral strategy. I think that was more of a Bo Hines thing. They might be dropping that idea, which is kind of wild. We want to be the crypto capital of the world, but we won't buy the asset, which is kind of wild. I guess we still do own a ton of Bitcoin, but you'd like to see us buy it to kind of get that gold rush factor coming in on the country, from country to country. Scott says, I heard you and Oscar saying yesterday, Pepe saying that. What? I heard you and Oscar. Oh, you guys were talking about, in the chat on another channel. Shout out to Oscar. He's great. Yeah, but we are seeing a lot of things happening. So all-time highs for the stock market has been a thing. We've just been ripping the highs. Bitcoin's had a tremendous run, but now we're worried about mostly macro concerns being rate cuts and tariff impacts. So if you just look at Yahoo Finance today and kind of what's going on in the news, there's a couple key headlines, and they're going to be all about the same kind of thing. Powell faces a dilemma heading into his final Jackson Hole speech. As we get closer to this speech, which is set to happen on Friday, August 22nd at 10 a.m. Eastern time, as he's set to speak at his big grand finale speech in Jackson Hole, last one he ever gives is the head of the Fed in Jackson Hole, people are worried that he's going to come in and be quite hawkish because of the PPI data. And the real issue is now becoming the thing that Fed Chair Powell has been talking about all along, the fears over tariffs causing inflation problems. And we are seeing those inflation problems right now. I love this chat. It's very active right now. I'm going to get to the chat towards the end of this video and keep an eye out for any questions you guys have along the way, but we'll do it like our Q&A at the end. But another thing that people are looking at on the macro level is potential end to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But, that would require the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, accepting a deal that was negotiated between the U.S. president and Putin that allegedly favors Putin, and the markets are less than optimistic about that. Now, S&P's still hanging in there quite well, but Bitcoin's having a little bit of a pullback because if the conflicts don't end and if tariffs make inflation worse, then the Fed even with this bad jobs data, still might not be able to cut rates. And the crazy thing is there's an 80% chance, according to the CME probabilities calculator, that we're going to get a cut. But if that does shift the other way, and I think people are starting to get fearful of that, then it could cause a very big upset in the market, causing rather large dips. Okay, rather large dips. It's interesting to see the mainstream media right now coming out with headlines like this. If it will load. Crypto is booming. Washington is driving the rally. You know, you don't see a lot of articles like this from CNN, but CNN is now writing a relatively pro-crypto article, I guess you could say, for Bitcoin. It's been a summer to remember for crypto. Bitcoin is taking highs. Altcoin season not happening. They're very out of tune, I feel like, with what's happening in the crypto space. But they are reporting on some of the recent things, like the president recently issuing the executive order that opened the door for digital assets to get included in 401ks. Again, very bullish thing. But as you start to see more mainstream publications and more of the bigger investors in the space start talking about crypto, and when you see Ethereum treasury companies gaining steam, as we're going into phase 2, which is Ethereum season of this bull market, waiting for the altcoin season and the blow off top, it kind of tells you that we could potentially be getting close. You know, I mean, they're talking about how everything is already up this year. Crypto is booming. There's no doubt about it. But what this is kind of setting us up for is retail to start getting excited and involved. And the proof in the pudding for that is this. Google searches for crypto are now reaching an all-time high. What a coincidence. That's how this goes, guys. The institutions and savvy retail, people that have been paying attention to, you know, crypto YouTubers since the bear market, the ones that have been here, at least. We've been here since the bear market. We're not financial advisors, but I'm proud to say we've been reporting on crypto since Bitcoin was at like 20,000, crashing to 50,000, and bounced from 15,000 all the way up to now where it got today, which was recently a previous all-time high. And what happens is some retail gets in, some institutions certainly get in at the bottom. And after a bounce is getting more clear, we saw institutions really start to get in. The Bitcoin ETF thing was a lot of institutions getting in. And now you've got institutions getting into Ethereum. But to think that these people aren't going to take profit at some point, now that Bitcoin's gone from 15 to 120,000, you know, doesn't make any sense to me. There will be some profit taking. There will be people that are holding Bitcoin for an extended period of time. Institutions especially are going to be holding big stacks, no doubt, but they will be selling big stacks, in my opinion, as well. And so what we've got right now is the thing we need happening, which is retail getting interested in crypto again. It needs to be kind of an everybody excitement run, not just institutions, retail, and then everybody all at once. And everybody's panic buying and thinking, maybe this is a super cycle, all these things. And then eventually we will have a peak excitement moment for crypto. And that will be around the top, right? That will be around the top. And I still believe that top comes, guys, in 2025. Personally, I'm having a hard time budging from that. Now, if all of a sudden we don't get rate cuts this year and we have to do rate cuts in 2026, well, maybe we get some rallies after a few rate cuts in 2026. That's certainly possible. But we'll deal with that when we see it happening, because right now the odds are in favor of a Fed rate cut in September, October, and even in December. And I think, you know, we can still see that. But tariffs are still on people's minds. The biggest news for the day is really macro concerns and massive liquidations going on. Again, it is crazy to see. I think this is the biggest story for the day. The Ethereum leveraged short positions are hitting record highs. Take a look what happened just in the last 24 hours. $400 million worth of Bitcoin longs wrecked. That's tough, guys. Not just Bitcoin, crypto longs. Okay. People betting that crypto is going to go up right at the pivotal moment where 401ks are going to start including crypto. CNN's writing bullish articles. Crypto search terms on Google are at their highs. You've got Ethereum treasury companies going wild for Ethereum right now. The longs are getting liquidated. Are these whale games or are these whale games? These are whale games. These happen. This is crypto, guys. There is smart money playing a lot of games. But what you can do to beat the smart money is, look at the trends because they're quite apparent. There's a few that I focus on every single day. For example, from the lows to the high, a bull market lasts about 1,070 days. And that's 2 bull markets ago. And here's the one last time. It's about 1,070 days. That's how long they last. And we already know that we are almost 1,000 days into this, which means we've probably got about 100 days left in this bull market, 80, 100 days left in this bull market. And we also know that Bitcoin dominance hasn't done the thing it always does in a bull market, which is fall off a cliff. We've begun, and we also have Ethereum doing the right thing by moving up, but it faced a rejection, and we're coming into September. September historically presents dips for crypto. Pretty much every time, guys. August, highs, September, low. What else we got? June, July, August, September. This September, I remember this September. This September was a little shocking, actually, that one wasn't quite as much of a dip because it was kind of coming out of the bear market. So we kind of had like getting ready for the bull market momentum. Ethereum had a really nice run to start this thing, and then it just hit a wall at 4,000 and came back down to 2,100 and then even down to 1,400, which was wild. That's when we had that Bitcoin dominance run. But now Bitcoin dominance is headed the other way. Ethereum's facing some resistance levels. And we got some fear over a Fed rate cut. I'm not going to be surprised to see Ethereum touch down to 4K. Not going to be surprised to see it at all, guys. That's my personal opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. You got to do your own research, my friends. But, you even have people in the chat, people I like a lot. Scott, how's it going? But calling for a super cycle, which I disagree with. I do not believe in the super cycle. I believe that there's something super awesome about this cycle, but I don't believe in like an up only. Like up only doesn't exist. Up only doesn't exist. Now, if you zoom out enough, you could say, well, the S&P 500 has been up only. Yeah, well, so has Bitcoin if you zoom out far enough. But there are big moments of volatility, which is why, we focus in on the news, levels of areas of resistance and support, and kind of trade that stuff. You know what I mean? Jay Samuels just says, my dad sold his crypto every time he does, the market pumps. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets all hyped because there's going to be maybe a big dump in September. This has been a pretty good dump right now. I'm not going to be surprised to see 100K Bitcoin, 110K Bitcoin. I'm not going to be surprised to see a $4,000 Ethereum. I'm not going to be surprised to see XRP. Heck, XRP could touch $2 again. You know what I mean? But I still don't think that it's over. I mean, we still have 100 days left. It's a tight window, but with Fed rate cuts coming eventually, and they will be coming eventually, and we're still waiting for that alt season, I think people are going to embrace that alt season that we've all been waiting for. But everything kind of needs to be lining up. And again, on the macro time frame, the macro news cycle, it's not looking great right now for that moment to be right this second. Again, I'm trading the volatility as we're waiting for the blow off top. You can sign up for Blowfin or BitTinex using the links in the description down below if you want to check it out. But when the Fed does end up speaking this Friday, it's going to be a very, very volatile day. It's going to be wild to watch. I have no idea how the Fed is going to approach this. Everybody wants to talk like they have a clue. I don't. I mean, the odds say that he's going to cut the rates, but he could surprise us, guys. He said things and he's kind of backtracked on it before. It's happened. You're just going to have to wait and see. This will be his last one as the head of the Fed. And it is very much as a looked event right now. And I think it's causing some fear in the markets. Okay. Let's look at this a little bit more. Investors will be listening for clues about what the Fed may do in September when Fed Chair Powell gives his speech this Friday. They've been closely watching for the impact of tariffs on inflation, but recent readings from the Consumer Price Index and the Producer Price Index have shown mild effects from tariffs as services inflation unexpectedly heated up in July, catching the attention of some Fed officials. So the tariffs are kicking in mildly, but is that going to ramp up? Is that going to get worse? That's the debate they're all kind of going on, right? You have some people think that the weaker than expected July jobs report raised the risk of the labor market maybe weakening, and so they should cut rates, okay? But this PPI data suggests kind of the opposite. We have been following this wait-and-see approach, okay? And we're kind of seeing right now mixed signals. It's a confusing time. If I had to guess, I'd say they're still on track to cut rates, but maybe we're not going to get 3 rate cuts now. Because what if inflation gets worse? Maybe they cut the rates and then they pause. Maybe they pause and then they cut the rates twice. I don't know. But when Fed Chair Powell is done, I do believe that the president will appoint somebody that's just going to cut rates no matter what. But a lot going on right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. We're coming into September, which is historically, not the best month for crypto. Well, all that's happening. Whales are still publicly announcing that they want to buy. Dutch public company Amdax announces to buy 1% of the total supply of Bitcoin. 210,000 Bitcoin. There's only going to be 99 other companies that can do that. And we've already seen like 5 that have claimed that they want to do that. Just think about it, guys. It's unbelievable how many bullish narratives there are. But maybe that's the trap, because do they announce when they're going to buy it? They're going to buy it over 10 years, over 20 years, some of these companies. Maybe they're going to wait for a big dip. Maybe they're praying for a big dip. I'm sure some of them are. I think we will have big dips still. Maybe we're not going to have 80% crashes for Bitcoin, but we could still certainly have 50% crashes for Bitcoin, which is an insane amount of volatility for such a large asset. We're seeing excitement ramp up, no doubt about it, for good reasons. A lot of bullish stories that we keep talking about here, but do note that the whales are playing games and the shorts are stacked up right now. If these shorts get squeezed and the short traders get wrecked, which has happened more than once, it's happened many times. We've had shorts getting wrecked all back here. Look at this short squeeze. This one was crazy. $1 billion on July 9th. That's the kind of short squeeze candle we'd be looking at if the people betting against Bitcoin and crypto right now get wrecked. It could be cool. It could be very cool. We could see it. I'd be excited to see it. Let's do a little bit of a Q&A in the chat. How's it going, everybody? Smash the like button. Subscribe to this channel if you enjoy these crypto updates. And let's talk a little bit with the community here. See what's on everybody's mind. Bitcoin currently coming in at 15,000 and change. Ethereum at the $4,300 level. Okay. Let's look at this chat. A lot of debate going on in the chat right now. How's it going, James, in the chat? Scott says we'll never see XRP at $1 again, ever again. I wouldn't be surprised if we did. What else is going on in the chat? Oh, just a big XRP debate going on, really. Ultra Justin asks, why did Basent say that the U.S. was only holding 20 billion worth of Bitcoin? Where did the rest go? We probably sold it. And I also would say, Ultra Justin, that, don't trust every word that comes out of the government's mouth, ever. Let's actually draw a little wedge here for XRP while we're looking at it. Here's a new one forming. We can get rid of this other one. We know what that was about. Let's get a little more into the time frame here. Just a little bit of live charting for you. Struggling. It's funny, you know, when you draw these wedges on some of these things. First of all, look at how perfect that wedge is right now. Right at the bottom of the breakout point. Okay. Here we go. There's that floor support, 94 cents. The ceiling price right now for XRP, if it breaks above it, 327, call it 329, call it 330. If we could break past 330, XRP is due for another breakout. If XRP breaks out of this wedge, we're just charting to chart right now. That gets us pretty close to that $5 range. I wouldn't be surprised if this is somewhere towards the top for XRP. Maybe we're going to rally a little bit past it for euphoria's purposes, but look at the timeline on this. So this is August. Now, in the end of this thing is right at September. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, instead of looking at the break up, if this thing broke down and retested down to, what did I say? $2. I told you guys $2. You cannot make this stuff up, guys. This is like right down to the $2 range. Let's just pretend this is what XRP is going to do. Meow. Do one of these and come back down to $2 and then retest up. Doesn't have to come down to $2, but that's just where simple TA on this little wedge would say. I think $2 is a very easy level for us to test after testing it so many times from November 2024 to July of 2025. That was such a wild stretch of time. We were chopping around there. Don't be surprised if we retest there. Don't be surprised if Ethereum retests $4,000. Could it test lower? It could. I don't want to see that. I think Ethereum needs to start showing strength. We need that phase 2 Ethereum cycle to happen. And then when Ethereum actually breaks out, wherever XRP lands, getting a bounce, Crow getting a bounce, Pepe also hopefully finding a bounce. Pepe actually looking a little not so good here. This is the level that I just moved that little circle from that I was expecting us to test. We have tested it. Okay. If Ethereum doesn't hold here, like here, right here, not even down to here. If Ethereum comes down to here, and Pepe could be collapsing back down to the 50886 level, I think. So hopefully Ethereum at worst holds at 4K and Pepe finds a bounce there. I'd like Pepe to hold up right here, but I don't expect Pepe to hold this line if Ethereum breaking down, and Ethereum has record amount of shorts on it right now. It might be breaking down with the inflation concerns. Some of the things that I'm looking at, Dogecoin easily could come back down to this, and that would make a lot of sense. You know, 18-cent level, another entry at 18 cents. Look at how many times we touch back down to these things before we get these big, beautiful breakout moves. Dogecoin, man. Juan says, oh, welcome to 4K ETH. I need to buy more. Embrace the dip. Q4 will be epic. I think so. I agree. You guys got to remember, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not here to give financial advice. We're just here to talk about these crypto markets, do a little bit of news. Scott says, Kip, I have a question. Can you answer? Can you answer? It did Ripple lock back 7 million coins in early August on these 3 transactions have at least 1 billion. Can you solve that problem for us? I don't even know what you're talking about. I have a question. Can you answer? It did Ripple lock back 700 million coins. I don't even know what that means. I really don't know what that means, brother. But look, none of that matters. I'm telling you, none of it matters. People come up with a bunch of these nutso hypotheses. Not calling you nutso, brother. I'm calling the sources that you got that information from a little off. Because again, the guy you're getting your news from is reporting $1,000 XRP. It's just like in 40 years. Okay, sure, we can talk about it, and it gets integrated to all the banks. But like, these are the problems with. Oh man, this is just where people get caught in a trap in crypto, and it upsets me. It upsets me. It makes me sad, man. You know, because then people are set up for failure, and that's not what I want to see, right? I mean, if people really believe that Bitcoin's going to $10 million in the cycle, well, that's a pipe dream. That's ridiculous. Now, if people think it's going to 190 or 250, yeah, I mean, I could get behind that. You know, what happens when it breaks through this level? It could have a huge breakout, guys. You could easily see a 300K Bitcoin, maybe, but even that's a little ambitious to be talking about, considering we've only got, 80 or 90 days left in this cycle. And then maybe the cycles are over as we know it. And you can make the argument, well, this guy's way wrong, this bald guy, Crypto Kid, because, it's clearly a super cycle. This guy doesn't get it. Look, I get it more than anybody. The reason that you want to call it a super cycle, that I want to call it a super cycle. But history has told me at this top, okay, this top, and, this top, wherever it may be, it's coming, I believe, that there are bull markets, there are bear markets. It's just that simple. And there are limited times where these things can rally. Thankfully, we're coming up on that big Ethereum run. It just needs to break through this level of resistance at the high, and we could get that big altcoin season we've all been waiting for. But in the meantime, there's volatility. I'm trading on Blowfin. I see a lot of you guys are trading as well. I hope you guys are making money. Take advantage of all this crazy moves, because when the Fed speaks, there's going to be volatility on that day. I don't know, Marty. There's a guy out there. He's talking about 700 million coins. 700 million coins. When we're talking about a total supply of 99 billion XRP, it's just not important enough of a number. You catch my attention if you say 70 billion XRP. Yes, and the circulating supply is only 59 billion. I get it, but I don't even know. I can't verify or deny that story. At the end of the day, people need to have some realistic price predictions. And they don't. I put up thumbnails with dollar Shiba Inu to tell people that a dollar Shiba Inu is not going to happen. I think I put out a video with $1,000 XRP on the thumbnail telling people that $1,000 XRP is not going to happen. And I explained why. And I stand by that explanation. I hope nobody round trips. Speaking of trips, Scott Evink is asking, how was the anniversary trip? Dude, anniversary trip was awesome. We had a great time. We had some beach time. We had a great time. We had beautiful meals, beautiful time together, relaxing, time away from our baby for the first time for 3 days. Missed the heck out of her. And it's good to have our little girl back in our arms. But we had a wonderful, wonderful time. Juan says, Kip, are you not rotating your Bitcoin, correct? No. Moving forward in my life, my Bitcoin will always remain Bitcoin. And new money, you play with altcoins. But surrendering your Bitcoin, I think, is always a mistake. For me, period. So now if you have a bunch of Bitcoin and you want to take some off the table because you've got plenty of Bitcoin and you want to put it into cash because you think a bear market's coming, that one I could get behind. But at the same time, like, you know, you don't really sell the S&P 500. I don't think. I think you hold that for the long term as well. Now, individual stocks, with all the volatility going on, people like to shuffle profits. Same is true with altcoins. Okay? That's just kind of how I see it. Frying Pan Man says fart coin to the moon. It could go back to the moon. Yeah. WCBJJ7 says I'm glad I'm mainly into BTC now. I love Bitcoin. There's going to be a moment where altcoin season hits, and a lot of people that are happy to be Bitcoin owners are going to shift their Bitcoin into altcoins, chasing the gains. Some of them will hit, and then think it keeps going up, and it won't keep going up. And then the altcoins will crash, and they will lose the value of that Bitcoin that they initially started out with, chasing altcoin gains. Don't fall into that trap, people. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not here to give you financial advice, but one of the things that we did start this channel for is to notify people of the very real mistakes that can happen in the crypto space, the mistakes that we have made in past bull markets, which is getting too excited. Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. You can make plenty of gains in crypto without thinking it's just going to keep going, or constantly swing trading, right? What I like to do is have a holding portfolio. I like to have a swing trading portfolio at times, but honestly, I'm not doing any of that right now. And then I have more of my like day trade leverage trading portfolio, and that one's always active. So there's more of a holding portfolio. That's the fat stack, and you keep that nice and safe. And hopefully you've been able to accumulate Bitcoin, maybe with some of that swing trading strategies, if you've been doing that. Or maybe you're able to grow your holding portfolio by being a successful trader. Again, it's not for everybody, guys, and you have to do your own research. I'm not a financial advisor by any means. I'm not telling you what to do or how to do it. I'm just telling you really what I'm doing, being transparent in that, and saying like that is one way to do it. That's one way to do it, I guess. You know, some people are just buyers and holders, and I love that too. But if you're buying and holding altcoins, I think that there's so many opportunities to take awesome profits after these things do these big runs that, like, it's a mistake if you don't take a victory at times, you know. And again, you got to do your moves. I'm not telling you what to do at all, ever. These are your choices to make in the world of crypto. This chat gets me going. Wes says, I learned my lessons, moving on my BTC into cold storage, and it my altcoin moves. I'm jumping out and moving that into BTC. I'll DCA another altcoin next bear market. Don't mind that. Next bear market, I think I'm just going to buy probably just Bitcoin, honestly. And then wait for kind of some altcoin season after Bitcoin has some really crazy run. Anyway, guys, smash a like, subscribe to the channel. DCA, hold on my friends. Until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Peace, y'all.